Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. It is now time for Inside the 10 as I welcome Michael Shamus, Dave Riccio and very warm welcome Gus Warland.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great to have you on. You've stuck around from Sports Sunday.
I have.
And I think we're going to make you stay around for Freddie's pass-off as well.
Looking forward to it.
I've seen you've been stretching in the corner.
Yeah, I'm doing my best.
All right, well, let's get started with the first topic on Parramatta. Did they go too early in re-signing coach Brad Arthur?
Well, I don't think so. I think Parramatta made the right call. He's been there for a long time. He's had a lot of success without winning a premiership. Of course, they need to take the next step, Parramatta, but if it's not Brad Arthur, then who guarantees you that ability to take the next step? They're not going to get Wayne Bennett or a Trent Robinson. So what do? You just sit there and get a rookie coach in or a coach who's failed at other clubs? You sign Brad Arthur. He's done a good job. 4 or 5 years they've made the finals. He made a grand final last year, and that team may be going backwards. But if they fall away so bad, then the club need to recognise they pull the trigger and move on. And a lot of these coaches have got performance clauses in them. It doesn't mean he's guaranteed his full pay.
He did have performance clauses in that contract, though. That's what ultimately sparked this extension, this season that Parramatta Eels had last year. So, look, I've got no problem with it. And we know that the style of coach Brad Arthur is. He's a real development coach as far as developing players, and that's where the Eels are at right now. Well, as Freddie just touched on, it's a roster that needs they've lost a lot of players and they're rebuilding as far as the player in positions are concerned. But ultimately, Mick, what does a contract mean?
No, it means nothing. So,
like, it might sell a bit of solidarity and stability, but if all hell breaks loose, the Eels can sever ties quite quickly.
Yeah, he knows he's under the pump. He knows he has to get into the top 4 regularly. He needs to win a comp at some stage. But you're absolutely right. People always say, "Oh, his head's on the line." Well, who's going to replace him? Is there any other really good coach there? Do you go to Desi Hasler? Do you go to that old-fashioned coach, or do you give someone like the
There's always
Roosters
a coach.
did?
There's always a good coach available.
But will they be as good?
Desi, Flano, like, there's plenty of good coaches. But I don't think that that's a discussion that needs to be had at Parramatta about replacing Brad Arthur. I think he's done a good... You don't move on after making a grand final.
no.
Well, one thing that is certainly going to go in their favour, Ryan Matterson, he does return this week from his suspension. Does he deserve to cop criticism for accepting the suspension rather than paying for the fine? I think Andrew Johns
100%.
just called him a tight ass.
He should have paid the fine. I think in the end he knew that and he tried to, and they said, "Sorry, mate, you're too late." He actually works at the same gym. I've got a very similar body type. And he looks magnificent. He looks fantastic, and he would love to have that moment back to say, "Right, I'll cough up, pay the money, and be ready for round 1." Because he's now seen a tough start. He saw the draw. They're 0-3. They could have easily been 3-0. They've been in all those games, but yeah, no, he'll be absolutely ready to go. I'd let him off the leash.
I think who he's got to win over is his teammates. Really, we talk about the fans a lot and the Parramatta members and supporter base that have been robbed of Matterson's availability, but it's the teammates. And I've spoken to players about this actual topic. And when a player is sitting in the dressing room and watching what they're going through at this point in time, knowing that there was an easier option out to get out onto the footy field and he didn't take that path, that's where the teammates, I believe, would be questioning how much all-in he really is.
And they were. The club were. Like, as much as they probably support him, they were gobsmacked by that decision to put his wallet ahead of his teammates. Like, it was embarrassing at the time for Ryan Matterson. As you said, I'm sure if he had his chance again, he'd take it back and play, especially now that they're 0-3. But it was a selfish call from Ryan Matterson. Joey said he was a tight ass, and I think that, that he owes the club now. He owes the team, and especially the club that he missed a lot of football for concussion-related issues, and the club stood by him and said, "Take as much time as you need." Missed a lot of football during that period. I just don't feel like he repaid them by going out there and saying, "You know what? I'm going to cop the fine. I'm going to start next year. Let's go win a competition."
Well, you can imagine he'll certainly have a point to prove when he does return to the field this week, and I don't think he'll be making that mistake again, that's for sure. All right, moving on to the Tigers. What happens if the Sheens experiment doesn't work?
Surely you've got to give him time. I mean, we worked with Benji a bit at Triple M before he took this job. Fantastic guy, wonderful player. Of course, they've got the number 9 in there. It's not bad either. So the 3 of them, you've got to give them time. They're so patient, aren't they, Tigers fans? Every year people say, "Oh, look, this year we might get slowly better." But at the end of the day, there's got to give at least a couple of years, a good couple of years, and that means paying now for this season.
They don't have a couple of years, come on.
They've got to have it, though. don't they?
How you're talking about patient Tigers fans? How patient are they?
Well, they're going to have to be.
Like seriously, that's.
They don't even have to win. They have to. Like, they were embarrassing the first 2 weeks. There's no question around Tim Sheens or what's going on there. They need more time, and the style of football they're playing, they're going to take time to adjust. But this is the point I think Danika's trying to make. If the contingency plan is Benji Marshall, who is working with Tim Sheens, if it's not working, where do you go to next? Like, you're talking about a guy who's trying to groom the next coach of the club to be ready to go in 2 years' time. If the guy who's grooming him isn't working, what chance does Benji stand? I hope it goes well for the Tigers, but you're right. It doesn't look good for the club if they can't get this period right.
If it doesn't go well, what would happen? Would it say, we always say in rugby league when a team's not performing, the pressure it falls on the coach. So in the Tigers' instance, if they, continue to be performing the way that they are, do they get rid of Sheens or do they have to get rid of
They can't get rid of Sheens because Sheens is going to go into
Yeah.
a general manager role and oversee the whole operation.
So does Benji go early then? Does Benji get the reins in round 10 or something like that, which he will say himself he's not ready for, and he doesn't want that either.
Or does Benji go with Sheens? Like, how does it work?
No, I think you guys have all
got to give him time.
I think you guys have all answered the question for yourselves. The coaching staff remains. It's the playing roster that will cop the brunt of it. So Luke Brooks will wear the pain. Because we know that the footy club have made the decision to go. They've given a plan. They've shown the Tigers fans we've got a plan with our coaching structure. But with that coaching structure locked in, it will then fall back on the players if they don't get a result. And Luke Brooks will be the whipping boy.
Well, I wrote last week, they haven't won a game with Luke Brooks in the number 7 jersey since August 2021. That's 12 straight games they've lost with Luke Brooks at halfback. Whether or not he's to blame all the time, you can't escape the fact they haven't had success with him, and he hasn't played finals football. Luke Brooks is a lovely guy. I really like him. I feel bad pointing the finger at him and saying he's the problem at the club. Yeah. But at what point do you look at your halfback and say, it's just not working? They had time to get rid of him. They had countless opportunities to move him on to Newcastle. They wanted him. They instead moved on Jackson Hastings, and here they are.
But he's had a lot of different combinations to work with in the halves. He's had a new halves partner.
Oh, he has. It hasn't been easy.
But Danica, he's now got an outstanding 5'8" in Adam Dewey next to him. He's got one of the world's best dummy halves working with him in Api Coruscant.
Decent pack now as well.
Decent pack. I think the excuses are running out.
But they also do, and you do have to, as Gus said, you do have to give them some time in the fact of looking at just this year alone. They do have new players, it's new combinations.
Yeah, granted. But they're also wins. They need wins. Like you can't...
Well, that's the currency, isn't it? But I think if you go on the journey with your fans, they've come out and said 2 years with Tim, then Benji, you got Robbie there as Barry backup. That's given them a little bit of you're on the journey with us here. That's why I think they're more likely to be patient this year than perhaps in past years.
And I feel it for Tigers fans. I have to go home to a long-suffering Tigers fan after the majority of matches.
Well, Bateman finally makes his debut today.
I know. Looking forward to that one.
Is he definitely here? We're absolutely sure of it.
Sure.
Acclimatisation over.
Wow. All right, let's move on quickly. What will the spin-off effect of the 11-day mandatory concussion stand-downs be?
I think it's a good start, isn't it? I think they're a little bit reactionary at the moment, but we have to be, I suppose. It's ever-changing. We talked about on Sports Sunday quite a bit and a lot on Triple M this week as well. At the end of the day, we've got to take care of the players because they won't want to come off. They'll want to get back on the field that game, let alone the game after. And Billy Slater was saying it's a 10-day turnaround in terms of origins. They might miss an origin if they get hurt on a Sunday before origin. Yeah. So there's a lot to be played out here. But at the end of the day, we have to keep looking after the players.
It was inevitable it was going to happen. But the spin-off effect now is I don't think the game is prepared with its rosters and its squads to actually handle this because there are going to be a lot of players missing footy. And you've got a 30-man roster and the way that the interchange is at the moment, I think we get to a point where it's probably going to be a change. That 18th man just becomes part of your bench. They're going to have to look at the way they do things because it was 3, if you had 3 concussions, then you can get your 18th man triggered. Now it's 2. I think it'll change again. I think it'll get to the point where we've got 5 on the bench, still 8 interchanges, but you've got 5 players to use. Something's got to be done with the rosters and the interchange, I think.
Roster sizes will definitely have to increase because clubs are fast running out of players already, to be fair. We're only 3 weeks into the comp. We saw the Newcastle Knights struggle to name a squad. They had something like 12 players unavailable due to injury and concussion and suspension. So I think squad sizes will be big. And what we've seen in the NFL is also contact sessions reduced at training. So I think we'll see that go. The NRL follow a similar path where there'll be a cap on how many contact sessions coaches can actually adopt for their own training sessions.
Because that's where some of these concussions
are happening at training.
Occurred.
That's right. Yep.
And so what will that mean in terms of if the squad sizes increase, money?
Yeah, absolutely. Or financially, the richer clubs will only get stronger.
We'll need to do a new CBA, more strikes.
Alrighty, I think that's Peter Basaltis. I think that's Peter Basaltis just arriving, and it is very dark. I
think Joey John's just taken someone out, and it's on report, and it's 6 weeks. Joey, you behave yourself. We've got another show going on here, champ.